Welcome back to another TCR Interviews. We're sitting here with Zachary Lombardo, DPS flex character of the Dallas Fuel. You might know him as ZachaREEE. It's very different, right? Yeah. ZachaREEE.
A lot different.
I know we always have people on from esports, right? And they always ask, like for instance, Mike, he's Hastro and everything. Which do you prefer? Do you prefer ZachaREEE or your in-game name, ZachaREEE?
I mean, they're both pretty much the same. I go by either of them, obviously, but nobody really goes out and does the whole "ree" unless they're just messing around with me. So most people just call me Zach, and that's what I pretty much go by.
And is that how you pronounce your in-game name? Because if you see here, it's spelled with a lot of E's.
Yeah, there's a lot of E's.
So is it ZachaREEE or is it ZachaREEE?
I think originally it's ZachaREEE, but most people just use Zachary because it's when you're in game and saying my name, you're not gonna, go out and say
doesn't really work well.
Yeah, you're not gonna do the whole thing when you're calling out for me.
All right, I just want to get that out of the way before we really start the interview. So you are in town doing the media rounds.
Yeah.
Going into kind of pimp out the Ultimate Weekend, which is Saturday and Sunday, April 27th and 28th. Obviously, it will be historical to be the first, I would dare say, esports home game event, not just for Overwatch League. That's going to be at the Allen Event Center for our listeners who are in the DFW area. If you haven't bought tickets yet, there are still some available. You can get that at dallasfuel.com. It's got to be kind of exciting for you. We were talking before we were recording. This is your first time in Dallas, so just think in a month's time you will be here playing in front of home fans. It's got to be a little different feeling than playing in LA.
Yeah, a lot of it, what I've been talking about recently is just, it's really exciting being able to actually build up and interact with the local fans and get to know people, because when we get to build that brand and the fans and get to meet and greet and sign and be with them all the time, it's you'll get to know the fans and they'll get to know you. It's a more personal team to fan type of relationship rather than LA. It's just everybody's going. It's we're gonna have that big majority of fans that are from Dallas that we're going to be able to really treat them to a really good performance and a good time being able to watch us play, and it'll just be exciting to perform for them.
Something that, just from a spectator, because I haven't been out to the Blizzard Arena in LA, it seems like a friendly atmosphere.
Yeah, it is.
Kind of all the fan bases get along and they're just here celebrating Overwatch.
Yes.
I'm curious, has there ever been that rivalry between you and Houston? Have you ever noticed it while being at the arena? Because, just here, because you're not from Dallas, but people from Dallas don't like Houston, and people from Houston don't like Dallas, and you guys are playing each other on Sunday. So that, to me, I think is going to be the pinnacle of the weekend, just the build-up.
That was probably intentionally planned, I'd imagine. So.
I can only imagine.
Yeah, I think they might have planned that one out, but when we're actually there and you're with player to player, nobody's really ever hostile or anything. It's when you're backstage and you see all the players, everybody's hi, good luck, or pretty much everybody has a bunch of friends in the league, so there's never that really hostile type of feeling. But everybody does occasionally trash talk each other and you guys are gonna get farmed or something like that. But I wouldn't say that we ever duke it out because one of us is from Houston, the other one's from Dallas. It's actually kind of funny. We're pretty good friends with all the Houston players.
Yeah,
it's ironic that we're all friends with all the Houston players. So.
Yeah. So talk about your transition to the Overwatch League, starting Contenders, having success there, and moving to the Overwatch League. What is the biggest difference between the two leagues that you maybe had to adjust to?
I'd say the actually being and living, because when I was in Fusion Uni. Well, before Fusion Uni, I was on Renegades, and we had the team house, but on Fusion Uni, we didn't really have a team house for that long. We had, a month or so that we were in, a house, and then other than that, not really. So, having to actually balance the lifestyle aspects of stuff is a lot different than Contenders. And then for, the actual in-game, practice point of view, there's a lot more depth that goes into it, because all the coaching staffs are, pretty extensive. Most teams have multiple coaches and analysts and, data people that go into stuff and, figure out, what's been working, what's ideal. There's a lot of scouting. While in Contenders, it's you'll look at their VOD, and then it's okay, well, they play this comp, let's just play this. And then in Overwatch, it's all right, well, we have a general defined meta, and we know what everybody thinks is really strong, but this team has these types of consistencies and these types of play styles and habits. and we can exploit their habits like this.
So talk a little bit about, you're practicing more and just, it's more in depth than it was in Contenders, like you said. Talk about working with Jane, who is, Team Canada's head coach, and Arrow, who took the Fuel on at the end of the season, had success going to a Stage 4 playoff, and then also coaching Team USA, which you were a part of. Just talk about kind of that dynamic, how you guys work together.
Okay. So it's like a pretty, like, we have a lot of coaches, as you know. Like, we have like a role coach dynamic type of thing. So like Jane works with the supports, and Tickety, for example, works with like DPS. Like, I work with the two of them because like I'm DPS support hybrid right now because Brigida. So like I'll work with Tickety a bit, and he'll work with like our Zarya players, and I'll work with Jane too. So like there are times where I'm talking with Jane about like setting up plays with the closer and Unco, and then I'm talking with Tickety about like general stuff and like communication stuff he wants me to work on, or maybe like aggressive type of plays or just defensive plays, just like helping out with play style. And then like I said with Jane, it's like I'm working about positioning with Unco and closer, and making sure that like when we're playing against specific teams and styles, I know who I'm going to be like prioritizing my E usage on. So like whether I'm giving it to OG because they rush Rhine, or whether I'm giving it to Unco because they flank and push on Zen. Or say if we want to look for a lot of boot plays, it's like I'm giving the E's to closer so he doesn't get picked off when he's making aggressive plays. It's like there's a lot of depth you can do because you have like individual coaches looking and like being able to watch your point of view and help with stuff.
Do you feel like comparing the Overwatch League to Contenders, does the Contenders, the meta seems to move a little faster in Contenders, or at least the players are a little bit more quicker to try new things.
Yeah.
Do you see that now being on, you've played on both sides?
Yeah, well, I knew it was a thing when I was just playing there because like they were all just playing Orisa, Widow, or like Widow, Tracer, Mercy, Zen. It's like we were playing Lucio, Zen, Ana, Zen, Tracer, Genji. It's like we were playing completely different stuff on Fusion Uni than what Owl was playing. And we were beating people in scrims, like Owl teams in scrims, playing whatever we wanted.
And why is that, do you think?
Pure mechanical skill, and just players being good.
Yeah.
Like they're like, for example, Fusion Uni is like probably a top Overwatch League team at the time. So it's like the Contenders meta will move faster mostly because like they get patches thrown at them faster because we have to sit on one patch per stage pretty much. So for example, like while Overwatch League was playing stage like 2 or something, I think maybe it was like stage 3, we were transitioning from like one playoff patch from the group stage patch, and then we transitioned into our finals patch. And it's like we had 3 different patches we played on while they were playing on one. And then it's like they get into playoffs, and like the patch they're playing on in playoffs, we've already like played and we don't need to play it anymore. So we're playing comps for them when they need to practice, when we were like warming up Philly for their grand finals match, or London for grand finals, or anybody. Like it's kind of like forced onto that one patch. So the Contenders is obviously going to transition faster, and it's I guess I'd say it's like less. It's still really intense like environment in Contenders because like you're playing to win, but it's not like Overwatch League where it's like a huge amount of resource and focus. It's like in Contenders you can be like willing to swap. Like in Fusion Uni we like tried Hanzo Genji when everybody thought double sniper was the only thing, or we tried out like double sniper instead of Pharaoh Widow on maps where like people would play goats because we wanted to try and see like what we can do with double sniper. And it's like you can experiment a bit more, and like if your players are really confident in their skills, you can just like play purely off of mechanics for some type of stuff.
So let's talk about patch, which is kind of the hot topic right now, because going into stage 2, we're going to be playing on a new patch with some nerfs and buffs and a new character, right? So do you maybe see the GOATS meta getting kind of shaken up? Because I know I follow you on Twitter, and I know how much you love to play Brigetta. So kind of talk about that. Do you maybe see any change ups there?
I think not really, but I mean there might be a little bit more room to like maybe Chengdu won't be the only team playing DPS all the time, but like maybe more teams will be more willing to try out like quad DPS comps to beat GOATS or something like that. But for right now, it kind of still feels like GOATS is just too strong. But maybe with like more time on the patch, people will realize like something else is actually really good and GOATS isn't exactly the best anymore. But for right now, it's like everybody just came off of stage 1, and the changes aren't like super major enough that like, oh, Zen is an OP or Brig is an OP or like Lucio is an OP. Like all three of them are still overpowered. So it's like that comp is still good, like in theory. So people are pretty much just playing it until someone's going to experiment and slap everybody, unless it just doesn't happen. So I'm not positive at all.
So now I always say on our podcast is that professional players are stubborn to the meta. And you can tell me if that's fair or not, but here's why I say it is because like last season you had Shanghai Dragons 0-39 still running the dive. Like they were still going along with the dive even though clearly wasn't working, and they had nothing to lose. Why is it that, you know, on a pro level you don't see as much experimental?
I think like there are teams and like players that are willing to experiment. It just depends. Like some of it could come from coaching staff being strict, or players, like you said, not willing to be experimental. But there are definitely some players and like coaches that want to experiment, but not all. It's like a minor number. Like I like to play whatever I want. Like I could be playing a match and it's like, oh, I think this is bad, and I'll just swap. Like that's what I did on Fusion Uni. It's like, oh, they're playing this. It's like, oh, our comp is like okay into it, but I'll just go McCree and it'll be better.
Right.
But when it comes to like league stuff and all the teams are just putting a ton of focus, and with the state of the game, it kind of like always feels like only one or two comps are really like good. So like even if say dive is, you know, maybe not good into tanks, like back then when quad tank was like supposedly beating dive, it's like teams like Fusion Uni, when we were playing quad tank teams, would play dive and then we'd just win first fight with Blade, Pulse Bomb, and Nano. It's like in Overwatch League, like, and just like the game itself, it feels like when teams put so much focus into learning like one or two comps, then all the other comps just feel so bad. Even if you do put a lot of resource into it, it's just like the characters that would, for like say, counter this comp just aren't good enough to do it.
So let's talk about comp. So, you know, last year, a big knock on the Dallas Fuel was adjusting. In-game adjustments, not really changing much. And, you know, here comes Arrow, things got better. Do you feel like, and I mentioned this because there was the game against the Shock early in the season, where I feel like they would see what you guys are doing, they would go back to spawn, change, and then there it is, you know, go at it. Do you feel like you guys have maybe adjusted a little bit better from the beginning of the season? In game?
Yeah, I definitely think like the first 2 weeks we really weren't like, everybody was, I think, not everybody, but like we had people that were a bit nervous like stage, and like they didn't want to like make mistakes because then they'd get flamed by the public or whatever, like just stuff that really shouldn't be worrying about, what we worried about, so we wouldn't make plays. But then like past the first 2 weeks, obviously, where we were 1-1 each, it was like when we were playing against Shanghai, it felt like we knew what we wanted to do. We were ready to swap if we needed to against their comps, but they never really like swapped off of their Sombra goats. So it was like, okay, we'll just keep mirroring them because we think ours is better. It's like, and if they swap, then we'll swap. But I felt like after the first 2 weeks, you know, we were like prepared to be able to do what we needed to do. And yeah, it's like, it feels like we're ready to do whatever we want.
Nice.
Before you signed on to the team, or I guess when you signed on to it, were you expecting to be in the starting lineup as much, playing over guys like Mickey, where, you know, towards the end of last season, people kind of viewed him as a top Brigetta. Maybe it was because he was the first to really, adopt to our play style and everything. But were you surprised to be in the starting lineup as much as you are?
I was pretty much expecting to be playing in the starting lineup every single map, but I wasn't positive, but that's like what I wanted in whatever team I was going to, and that was like not my demand. It's not like I went and said, hey, I'm not joining unless I'm playing every single map. It's like I'm playing tryouts to be better than everybody else, and then when I get put onto the team, it's like I'm going to be the starter. That's like what I was looking for.
And that's even knowing that you were going to play Brigetta. I mean, because here's the weird thing: you're a DPS on paper, but
it's a support role. But
right.
At the time, it was like people when they're doing tryouts, it wasn't necessarily goats only. Like teams were still playing like Sombra Doom, Sombra Tracer, Sombra Genji, a bit of goats. So it was like I was playing a mix, and it was like I'm very good at Sombra. So it's like I felt really confident on Sombra, really confident on Widow, really confident on Tracer, I was confident on Genji, like whatever I was playing, like Hanzo, like and stuff. When I was flexing, I felt confident playing pretty much anything I was playing. And then even when I'm playing Brig, it's like I feel fine playing Brig.
What is your dream meta?
I think of all the metas that like so far have happened that I've played like pro in, Contenders Season 2 group stages was probably my favorite, minus GOATs existing. But it was like in Contender Season 2, NA at least, because Contender Season 2, Europe, everybody just played GOATs because it was obviously better, but nobody wants to play GOATs. But teams were playing like Sombra Tracer, Sombra Genji, Tracer Genji, Hanzo Genji, Double Sniper, Widow Pharah, like GOATs, Orisa comps with Widow Junkrat, Orisa comps with Double Sniper. It was like literally everything in the game was viable. You could play Ryan Zarya, you could play Winston Diva, you could play Orisa Diva, you could play Orisa Hog Diva, you could play literally everything. And my favorite comp to play was probably like Winston Diva, Lucio Ana, Genji Hanzo, and for example, like Fusion Union Kings Row, that was like our go-to comp on offense, and I don't think we ever lost Kings Row in like any of our series that season because we always just played Genji Hanzo, and teams would always play their like Orisa comps on first point, and we'd win with like Hanzo Genji flanking, Winston Diva making space, Alarm getting anti-nades, and then we'd have Dragon for second point snowball. It's like I would get the Dragon through the main street, and we'd instantly win that fight. I'd build up 80% of it to another Dragon. Next fight, we'd Nano Blade, we'd win. Then we'd go into the next fight, and then we'd Dragon, and then Diva Bomb, and we'd win. Then the map would be over. And it was like, Genji Hanzo was just the most satisfying comp because it's like the 2 DPS characters get to do so much, the tank players get to do so much, and the support players get to do a lot too. So like for me, it felt good because Hanzo is one of my favorite characters. Probably like when I'm practicing him, I think my best character. So it's enjoyable being able to play him a lot.
So again, we're talking with Zachary Lombardo, the DPS flex, we'll just call Overwatch player for the Dallas Fuel. Right? I think eventually we'll just have to drop DPS and flex with the way metas go now. You can't really
Playing one character.
Yeah, you can't really stick to those labels.
The situational one trick characters dependent on the meta.
Right. Now, of course, you're in town promoting Ultimate Weekend for the Dallas Fuel and overall Overwatch League. The event is in Allen, which is like, I don't know, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, depending on traffic. That isn't going to be your guys' permanent home. So I don't think ground has broke yet. You still have time to tell Mike what are you looking for in a stadium?
What am I looking for in a stadium?
Very different for like esports, right? You've never had to worry about that.
That's a question I've never really like thought of because I've never like really thought into like actually developing a stadium. But I think the Burbank studios, like I don't like the size of it because obviously it's like pretty small. Only seats like a couple hundred people, but the dynamic they have with like all the different types of screens and then the interactive stuff with like when you look up and it's capturing the point. And I just want like a stadium that it's like built for the game or like built for games. So it's like you have lots of screens, the lighting is really good. Like I just want it to feel like kind of surreal when you're playing, and like the lighting effects are going to be there, the sound quality is going to be there, and then the screens, like I don't want any seats to like feel bad. I don't want you to like sit down in the seats like, darn, I got the second floor window seat or something like that. It's like I want every single seat to feel like it's still part of the show. So like being able to like give everybody that same like opportunity, like obviously like being right there at the front's going to feel better, but like nobody else is going to be like, man, I really wish I wasn't in this seat. I want like everybody to feel happy with where they are.
And you've mentioned your brother lives over here in Fort Worth. Mm-hmm. I assume he and your mother and family will be at the event as well?
Yeah, I believe my mom, dad, and brother are coming to the Ultimate Weekend.
So your mom on Twitter is well known for being super supportive.
Yeah.
And that's got to be awesome for you. Has she always been that way, though, about you playing video games competitively? Like, how was that first, like, Mom, I have something to tell you, and I want to play video games competitively?
So it was a funny story because originally, I've been playing video games for, like, over a decade, like, since I was 5, so, like, 13, 14 years-ish. Like, I've been playing video games, like, all my life, pretty much. But I remember it was, like, right around when Overwatch got released, and it was like my parents' anniversary, and we were like going on vacation, and we were at Disney, and we were just like in the pool one day, and I'm like, hey, Mom and Dad, you should let me buy a better monitor, because if I buy a better monitor, then I can stream, and I'm pretty funny, so it's like I can get a lot of fans, and I'll be like really popular, and then, you know, won't have to go to college. that wasn't like the instant.
That was your pitch.
That was your selling point.
I didn't sell that. I didn't sell them that part because it's like then it's like no, you're not going to be able to do it. So it's like let's keep that on the down low. But eventually, like, they let me get the monitor, and then I started getting like tryouts for teams. And when I was like finally getting to that point where like I wanted to quit soccer and transition to like online classes to like actually keep up with competing, like my mom was a bit worried, but my dad was like, well, you should just go for it, like it'll be fun. And it's like it's a opportunity that you're probably like nobody's ever going to get like that type of opportunity like you are. So after like convincing my mom that the online school that I'd be like transitioning into was like good, and that I wouldn't drop out of high school like other people did, and that I'd graduate, which I'm still in high school right now, she was like pretty willing. And like the only part that like she was super like not liking was when I was gonna move out, because I was 16. I was gonna move to Michigan, which is literally Florida's like the southernmost part of East Coast, and then Michigan's like the topmost part of East Coast. So it's like I'm on the exact like opposite side of the country, or not side, but like
Yeah.
I was like
You
cross
were
country,
far away.
Yeah, I was really far away from her, and she was worried. But you know, like my team manager Cameron at the time was like really good with like phone calls, and then we flew out, and she stayed for like a week and got to see like the environment with everybody. And then she was like convinced that like, you know, the people were all really good, and that it was something that I love and I wanted to do. So she was okay with me like quitting soccer, transitioning. And then she became like extremely supportive, and I taught her about the game and about everything, and now she loves it. She watches all the time.
And I mean, it's got to feel good about just the structure of Overwatch League, right? With franchising, and you guys get benefits as well. I mean, that's also a selling point.
Yeah.
You know, it's probably just a little bit of ease there, because there are a lot of esports aren't like that, where it's not structured.
Healthcare, salary, housing, like all that type of stuff. It's like not many other teams like really have to do that for you. Like you can join an Apex team and it's like, oh hey, well here's a paycheck. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
And that was like how it was before Overwatch League. It's like it's okay. We'll just give you guys a paycheck and good luck.
Yeah.
Or if you were lucky, they'd give you a house.
Right. So on the topic of other games, what are you doing outside of Overwatch?
I usually just play a couple games for like leisure. So the new Dark Souls-esque game, Sekiro, that came out, it's like Ninja Dark Souls. I've been playing that a little bit.
That's your leisure game.
Yeah.
That's what you play to relax. Okay, that's interesting.
It's for fun. It's for fun, guys. You know, I play it with Who Are You, and I laugh when he dies a lot, and then he laughs at me when I die a lot, so it's pretty funny. And I've been playing an early access like factory like game called Satisfactory.
Oh, I've seen that, yeah.
Pretty ironic, the name. And like I play Overcooked too. The game's pretty fun.
All right.
So I kind of just like hang out, and I do schoolwork when I have time too.
Okay.
But yeah, it's pretty much just like I just chill out, I guess.
Yeah.
Chill out and spend time with some friends.
All right, and we do have a question from one of our listeners. His name is TJ. He's one of our buddies. He's actually founder of Fahrenheit 214, which I don't know if you've seen them.
Yeah.
They're
The fan.
Yeah, the fan supporters group and everything, which I know they will be at Ultimate Weekend. They'll have their own little section I think they're trying to work on, so should be pretty exciting there to have that kind of rowdy bunch. He wanted me to ask you, there's a bus of puppies about to run off a cliff. You have the chance to save them. However, in that bus is also Hammond. Would you save the bus?
You know, he knows me a bit well, but you know, so
It seems so.
So if I don't save the boss, does that mean Hammond is deleted from the game?
Yeah, we'll say yes. For the sake of the scenario.
I'm not saving the boss.
Confirm Zach hates puppies.
If Hammond's gone, I'll take any price. Hammond's gone.
Why the hatred for Hammond?
It's the character has no headshot hitbox, has like a 600 HP shield that doesn't give ult charge. He has a movement ability that's like completely broken on a 4-second cooldown, and then his left shift is like toggleable, and it's movement, no headshot. And he has a pile drive that does 100 damage and then knocks you up so you can't move, and then he one-shots you. And then he has his ultimate that one-shots everything, and he just flies up into the air, knocks you around, pops his mine, slams onto the ground, you die, and there's nothing you can do about it. Like the only character that's good against that character is Sombra, and it's she's so boring now with the perma stealth. It's like nobody wants to play Sombra.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no risk in going invisible anymore. It's just let me sit in the background until my team tells me to EMP.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like, okay, guys. Oh, well, their Widowmaker's going over here, guys. Let's go kill him.
Yeah.
It's like, well, this is very boring.
So again, Zachary or ZachaREEE, I wanted to thank you again for coming on the show. For our listeners, one more time, if you do not have tickets for Ultimate Weekend here in Dallas, you can go and find the tickets, dallasfuel.com. They have a couple different packages. You can get the whole weekend, Saturday, Sunday, some VIP packages where you can get all the player signatures. And I believe it's like, 4 from each team, and then all of Dallas will be there. So I'm getting nods of yes. So that is true. If you are a fan of Zachary, or even if you're not, go ahead and follow him on Twitter at Zach Lombardo. That's Zach with a K.
Yep.
But your name is ZACH.
Yeah, that's the full name.
So what happened there?
It's complicated.
Excellent.
A lot of complications.
Excellent. Well, Zachary, I did want to thank you again for coming on the show. Really appreciate it. And best of luck in Stage 2 and at the Ultimate Weekend and everything else.
Thank you.